Oh, isn't it a lovely day outside? Just lovely. I have to admit, I cried. Not because I couldn't take her home that day, not because my mom got to hold her first, and not because of any other typical 8-year-old tear-worthy dilemma. I cried because I had never been that happy in my life. It was lovely outside that day. I was standing in the kitchen, making myself breakfast when my father whispered, "Hey kid, look at the dog." Ginger was asleep, but she was wiggling her legs and making a sucking noise with her lips. She's dreaming of being fed by her mom. I couldn't believe that she remembered and dreamt about that even after we'd had her for months and months. Her memory was always outstanding to me, because you wouldn't expect it in a dog. She knows many words, commands, tones, and even incidents that have left an impact on her, like being separated from her mother. She remembers her past without living in it. Instead, she lives in each new day. Vacations were something we always ventured on, once or twice a year. We enjoyed every moment on them, but Ginger, not so much. It meant a really long weekend with my grandmother in, well, basically the middle of nowhere, also known as Durham, Ontario. Alone in her one-story abode, my grandmother desperately needed the company. Someone to chat about the weather with would always keep her smiling, even if that person didn't respond and she didn't remember the conversation a few minutes later. The best part about coming home from a vacation, for me at least, was seeing my puppy again. She was so ecstatic, watching, out of the front window, our car pull up. She would sit in that window and watch for us to come home every day. She always knew we would, and I always knew she'd be happy to see me. Ginger prances. She walks with such a confidence, onlookers sometimes laugh. I have to admit, it's admiring. She knows she has soft, luscious fur and a nice house to nap in, and she makes sure every other dog knows that too. She used to jump around with the other dogs and let them chase her for her scent. Lately, she growls at the dogs that aren't good enough for her, that she simply doesn't have the energy for. Turning 10 soon, Ginger's begun to change. She only barks at potential intruders and the doorbell, which usually happens simultaneously. The mailman or a door-to-door salesman, usually. But, rarely, she will bark at a very kind person. She will growl, back off, and act completely unusual. She's done this twice in front of me, once to a lady in the park, and the other to my father's employee, Dave. Ginger comes from a poodle breeder called Torbeck. They have a long line of show dogs and a select few who can actually detect cancer in humans. Dave has cancer. She barked at him before he was diagnosed and after. I wonder what would have happened if I had told Dave before he found out he had cancer why I thought she was barking at him. Ginger started limping a lot in the last year, and she's had trouble chasing after a frisbee in the park sometimes because of it. Her skin has been upset, and it has a reoccurring lesion and an unidentified rash in the last several months. Her energetic, puppy spirit has morphed into something much slower. She growls and barks more, too. I just hope, for the sake of her life, that it's not aimed at herself. My grandmother can't watch Ginger when we go on vacations anymore, because she can't even take care of herself. She's 83 now, which is just slightly older than Ginger in dog years. My grandmother remembers less and less each week. Ginger's fur has faded from a vibrant burnt orange to a bleached apricot. She still has those moments of energy. She hasn't lost it all, but they are dwindling down to less and less each day. I begged for a dog ever since I could talk, and having Ginger is the most outstanding passion I've had in my life. It's rare that a person gets to see a full life run its course, but with Ginger, I've been able to. As her fur grows gray, I think about when it was as deep as saffron. As her legs take on a slower pace, I remember them quivering from the excitement to run freely. People say to stop and smell the flowers, but I've always stopped to pet my dog instead. I came home last week from a long day of school. Ginger was lying down on our sofa near the front window. She wasn't looking out of the window like she usually does. She didn't even raise her head up when I sat next to her. Instead of taking off my shoes, going to the kitchen and getting a snack, or checking my email, I leaned over and kissed her nose. She watched me. I watched her back. I rested my head on her and said, "You know what, Ginge? It is a lovely day outside."
Baby, it's been a long day, baby. Things ain't been going my way, you know I need